Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Stad Tefanek, Chris Flaherty, and Robert Paris, Gretchen Carey with the community calendar, Peter Brown with the weather, and Liz Gillespie with sports. Thank you for joining us. Despite not having as many doses as they wanted and requested, the Board of Health held a Phase 2 COVID-19 vaccination clinic for residents 75 and older on Wednesday. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford was there and files this report.
The Mary Kelly Room in the Burlington Senior Center was full of activity on Wednesday morning as the Board of Health held the first COVID-19 vaccination clinic for Phase 2 of the state's rollout plan. In the first part of the phase, the focus is on individuals 75 years and of age and older, with the doses set to be made available to younger people and other high-risk groups in the weeks ahead. Though it was the first clinic with the general public, Dr. Ed Weiner said it went well thanks to all their volunteers.
It's gone very smoothly. It's been going smoothly because we have so many volunteers from our Medical Reserve Corps. All of these people have given of their time, taken time out of the day to help us with not only the vaccination, but also helping with the flow. We've also had personnel here who've been able to assist some of the seniors, people who may have a problem, but it's been going very smooth, and we really haven't had any problems.
During the clinic, the Board of Health vaccinated 100 seniors, but Dr. Weiner said they could do many more and would do more if they could get a larger supply of doses from the state.
The rollout of the vaccine in Massachusetts has been very slow. In fact, you might have read that we are the 41st in the nation. We're pretty low down on the list of communities, of states which have been able to vaccinate its citizens. So, to that end, we are trying to get as many done as we can, but the issue is the vaccine. As soon as we get the vaccine, we open up a clinic. And we have been provided very few doses, only 100 this week. We keep asking them for more and more. In fact, we keep asking them for 800 doses for the town, but they continue to give us small amounts of vaccine.
Finally, if anyone has tried to sign up but hasn't been successful, the trick is to keep trying. Also, there is help available for those who need it.
The best thing to do right now is to either get on the Massachusetts Public Health website, or if they're having an issue with that, they can always call the Senior Center, and they will walk them through the process.
From the vaccination clinic at the Senior Center, I'm BNews Director Rich Hosford.
The Baker-Polito administration is easing off on the restrictions for some businesses. The administration announced that effective Monday, February 8th at 5 a.m., businesses can operate at 40% capacity. This is an increase from an existing order limiting capacity to 25% for many businesses that expires on Monday. Beginning when the order expires, restaurants and close contact personal services will be allowed to operate 40%. Other businesses that can operate more fully include retail stores, gyms, places of worship, hotels, libraries, museums, and movie theaters. The limits on gatherings, however, have not changed. The administration announced that current restrictions limiting gathering sizes to 10 persons indoors and 25 persons outdoors will remain in place for the present time. The gathering limits apply equally to private homes, event venues, and other public spaces. The administration also announced approximately $173.9 million in awards to 4,043 additional small businesses in the 6th round of COVID relief grants administered by the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation. This program is focused on serving businesses that have been most impacted by the pandemic, including restaurants, bars, caterers, personal services, and independent retailers. Burlington is set to receive funds from the state to help with a sidewalk project. The Mass Department of Transportation announced on Tuesday the award of over $3 million in the 3rd round of funding from the Baker-Polito administration's Shared Winter Streets and Spaces program. The program provides technical and funding assistance to help Massachusetts cities and towns conceive, design, and implement tactical changes to curbs, streets, and parking areas in support of public health, safe mobility, and renewed commerce, with a special focus on the particular challenges of winter. Burlington is set to receive roughly $271,000 to extend 1,500 feet of new concrete sidewalk with granite curb along Terrace Hall Avenue near Middlesex Turnpike to Lord Byron Drive. DPW Director John Sanchez said this project, which connects the sidewalk near Fire Station 2, was something the town had been planning a couple of years ago but put on hold due to issues with the concrete from the contractors. That worked out in the town's favor, he explained, because the Shared Winter Streets and Spaces program has a deadline of project completion of May 31, and Burlington could show it was ready to go on the work when applying. Town Administrator Paul Sagarino also said he was happy the town received the Mass DOT funds and thanked those involved in securing them. The Friends of the Mary Cummings Park were honored as Volunteers of the Year by the trustees for their exceptional endeavor to not only preserve and improve Mary Cummings Park, but for protecting it. BNEWS Tad Stefanak has this look.
The Friends of Mary Cummings Park have been recognized by the trustees as their Volunteers of the Year, a particularly meaningful recognition due to the fact that Mary Cummings Park almost wasn't.
I've heard from a number of directions that if it wasn't for the efforts of the Friends of Mary Cummings Park starting over 10 years ago, that the park almost certainly would have been developed. We would have been looking at housing in supermarkets or a mall right now.
That park was supposed to be a park forever, as Mary Cummings said in her will, forever a public pleasure ground. Something happened in the translation of this, and at one point the city of Boston was spending money out of the trust to have people survey the property, etc., looking at maybe the potential of putting housing or dividing up the property.
So when this became well known that Boston was making a focused effort to sell the park to developers, some people formed the Friends of Mary Cummings Park.
The Friends really went to town to make sure that never happened.
And they fought tooth and nail. They went to the Attorney General's office and they sat there and said, you must not let this happen. They raised a ton of money and they spent a whole bunch of money on legal fees.
They've raised money, they've been advocates, they've been working with the legislature and the city of Boston and others over these years to really protect that park.
Another group of us sort of came along, myself, Steve O'Leary has been the president during this whole transition to the trustees. We worked very hard pulling every kind of little string and writing letters that we could to encourage the city to make the deal with the trustees, because we knew that once the trustees were engaged here, that the future of the park would be much, much, much safer.
The trustees became involved with Mary Cummings Park as the managers of the park for the city of Boston. That included all of the construction work that happened last spring we had received a park grant, or the city received a park grant. But the reality is this park wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the Friends of Mary Cummings Park. This group of advocates has been working on saving this park since 2007. And some of the key co-founders were Catherine Moore and Steve Coletti. And then there's another whole group of volunteers that are part of the Friends that really work to save this park. And the trustees' mission is to save properties for the use of future generations, properties that have historic or scenic or ecological value. And, what we really do is try to protect the places people love. And in fact, that's exactly what the Friends of Mary Cummings Park did. And that's actually why we awarded them our Volunteer of the Year last year.
Didn't put all this effort in and all the blood, sweat, and tears in order to get recognition. But if you're human, you like to, when you do get recognized, it's a nice feeling. And especially I feel that way for the founders, Kath Moore again, Steve Coletti, and Pat O'Reilly. Those three really, it was the difficult, tough days. It was really a fight.
They really are a grassroots group, and I think the community certainly can thank them for what they have today.
Not only being recognized by the trustees, the Friends of Mary Cummings Park have saved one of Burlington's natural treasures. From Mary Cummings Park, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
The Burlington School Committee had a brief discussion surrounding the equity issues of having remote learning days during inclement weather. Burlington has 3 modes of learning this year in the different grade levels: in-person, full remote, and hybrid. Special education students are, for the most part, fully in-person learning due to the challenges of remote learning that that population faces. However, when a snow day is deemed to be a remote learning day, the options for special education students, their parents, and teachers are limited, and they are obligated to rely on a method perhaps not best suited to their needs. The alternative would be to add the day to the end of the year and give them another session of in-person learning. The issue was raised at last week's school committee meeting by parent Megan Nowacek on behalf of Burlington's Special Education Parent Advisory Council. She said having unexpected remote learning days puts a strain on families of special education students. Here she is.
We've had some discussion amongst our membership about the use of remote snow days. And many of our parents have concern with the practice and having some unforeseen challenges that maybe regular remote days or remote classes don't share. Some of the challenges that that parents have expressed to us are that their snow days happen and they're unplanned, and that parents have very little notice about when we're going to have a snow day. We get that 6 a.m. call, and it's all hands on deck to try to figure out a plan. And during those times, parents are expected to work remotely still. And for our special education parents, that often means that caregivers have to choose between educating their children or being present for work.
Nowacek also pointed out the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has ruled last year to end the use of blizzard bags, another form of remote learning during inclement weather, due to concerns around inequity for some students. Superintendent Eric Conti said he was open to having further discussions about the matter as an agenda item at a future meeting where he could come more prepared. He said the use of one snow day this year as a remote learning was meant to prevent the need of extending the school year in the summer, but he heard the concerns of CPAC. Here he is.
This is just a fairly atypical year, so the school committee had to approve 3 different modes of instruction at the start of the year: a sort of a full return, a hybrid, and a remote. So we're delivering education in a remote setting. And the trouble is we're conflating a whole lot of different conversations. So I understand this is going to be frustrating because I don't necessarily disagree with the position, but it would be really hard for the commissioner to have communities and support remote instruction for regular instruction and not support the remote instruction during an inclement weather day for this year, even though the point was made that the state was not in support of remote instruction for snow days, and they were ending that practice prior to the pandemic. I think the plan from the state was to not allow that. I just think if they allowed it for good weather days, for lack of a better term, I think this year they're going to have a hard time disallowing it for inclement weather days. So I just think I don't want to get too wrapped up in the conversation this year. If the advice is that I should be more mindful of just making a remote learning day when there's unsafe weather, I'm hearing that, and I will certainly take that into consideration.
On Tuesday, February 2nd, Conti did implement a full traditional snow day after a storm. He and the committee also agreed to take up the issue at a later meeting. Burlington High School musicians have been hard at work creating a virtual winter concert due to the pandemic. Reporter Robert Paris has this look at the preparations.
It is almost a year in the pandemic, and we are continuing to find new ways to bring the community together while we are still apart. The Burlington High School Chorus and Band is gearing up for their upcoming virtual winter concert with a variety of performances for everyone to enjoy.
All year long, our musical ensembles have been rehearsing in different locations, from home, in the classroom if possible. Singing and wind instruments aren't able to play, so we've kind of had to piece things together by students sending us videos of their performances, and then we take those videos and we put them all together as part of a virtual ensemble.
The students and music teachers feel a sense of normality now that concerts are happening once again.
Musicians have been hit really hard with this pandemic, not being able to be together and do what we love. It's a social outlet for us, and It's also just who we are, and it's a way to express ourselves. So I think it was really important for the students to hear that we can still be together, even if it's virtually. We can still make music, and we can still share it with the community.
With a number of things to juggle, the music department was given extra hands to put the performance together.
We haven't done it all by ourselves. I want to thank our IT department here, like for the chorus, has really relied on a student named Sam Norton, who's put together some visual work with us. Mr. Middleton has done some sound mixing for us, and I know our band director, Sean Buxbaum, has also outsourced a lot of the videos to other folks he knows to help put everything together. Because as you can imagine, it's a very time-consuming process. So logistically, it's been hard. It's many late nights of working on getting this together. But like I said, I think we're going to be very proud of our results.
The BHS Winter Concert will be available to watch on Thursday, February 11th on Google Meet.
We have a flyer that's circulating around that has a Google Meet link on it. So we're going to start the concert at 7 o'clock on Thursday night, February 11th. And in order to join, people will just need to click on that link. Hopefully we can get that up and published and emailed around. And as soon as you click on that link, it should take you right to the concert, and you can join the fun.
From the Fogelberg Auditorium, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
Like many regularly scheduled events in this new normal, Burlington High School's Poetry Out Loud tournament went virtual this year. Instead of reciting poems in front of their classmates, students submitted their recitations on video. BNews reporter Chris Flaherty spoke to English Department Chair Shannon Janovitz, as well as Diana Watson, this year's winner, on the competition.
For over a decade, the Poetry Out Loud tournament has been a cornerstone of the Burlington High School calendar. Like many events in this new normal, Poetry Out Loud has gone virtual this year. Instead of performing in front of their classmates, students recorded the recitations of their poems,
which I think helped a lot of students. It took a lot of the pressure off. I will say they found it a little bit awkward watching themselves on video in class, but it took that pressure off, and it allowed for a little bit more comfort, and it allowed for some creativity in putting the videos together, which was exciting.
Diana Watson, this year's Poet Laureate, spoke on the poems she chose for this year's competition.
So I chose for my first poem, I'm offering this poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca because I was just so in love with how in love he was with while he was talking in the poem. And for my second poem, I chose I Find No Peace by Sir Thomas Wyatt because he was a little more upset and despaired and just hurt. So I thought it was a nice contrast. And then my third poem, When You Were Old, by William Butler Yeats, was just a nice sum up of all of the emotions I felt like. I wasn't expecting to make it this far, but I'm really glad that I did. I was just going through the motions and really trying hard in each poem, but wasn't expecting to make it all this way. And now that I'm here, I'm really, really excited.
Watson now prepares to submit her poems for the state competition. Through the efforts of Watson and her classmates, Poetry Out Loud was able to carry on for another year, allowing BHS students to connect and engage with the poetic arts.
I'm actually really very proud of students. It's hard. Poetry Out Loud is hard no matter what, and everything seems harder this year. So they really put forth a lot of effort and energy. It's a tradition that I was worried we were going to have to give up this year, so I was so grateful. Poetry Out Loud is one of my favorite assessments. It hits all of the standards for English language arts. So it's speaking and listening, it's critical reading. Students write about it, so there's some composition, and there's a lot of emphasis on language. Students need to really understand the poem and bring that poem to life. But the main part that I like is that it exposes students to a lot of different poetry that they wouldn't typically get a chance to read in class, and students can make a connection, find something that they love.
Until next time, this is Chris Flaherty for BNews Weekly.
The town is in search of an individual who loves history and is willing to work to preserve it. The Burlington Board of Selectmen is currently seeking a member of the community to fill a seat on Burlington's Historical Commission. Applicants will preferably have a background in Burlington's history. The purpose of the Historical Committee is to work with other like-minded residents in acquiring, preserving, and displaying our town's history. This would require you to meet as often as monthly. If you wish to be considered for one of these positions, please send a letter of interest including a resume and the application at the following link to Lynn Mills at lynlmills@burlington.org. The BHS Red Devils are hard at play during this altered sports season. For the latest action, we go to BNEWS sports reporter Liz Gillespie for this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie for your weekly sports report. Burlington High winter season is almost done with just about 3 weeks left, and teams are continuing to roll with the modified 2021 season. Boys varsity basketball had a monster game against the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday, January 30th at the Burlington High School Wooden Gym. We have some highlights, so let's check those out.
The Burlington boys varsity basketball team had a home game against the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday, January 30th. Let's roll the highlights. In the first period, both teams came out strong as they scored 15 points each, tied after the first period. Both teams continued the momentum in the second as the Red Devils scored another 15 points, while the Warriors put up 13, 30-28 at halftime. The Red Devils added 16 points during the third period, while Wakefield added 9, 46-37 at the end of the third. Fourth period became interesting as Burlington scored at will with an additional 17 points, and the Warriors only added 10. 63-47 was the final. Red Devils.
The team played 2 makeup games on Wednesday and Thursday against the Stoneham Spartans. Wednesday, they headed to Stoneham and won by a score of 60-40. Then at home on Thursday, February 4th, we have some highlights, so let's check those out.
Boys varsity basketball squared off against Stoneham Spartans for the second time. Let's hit the court. First period, Burlington was riding high as they scored 17 unanswered points, while Stoneham only produced 5. Second, Red Devils defense allowed 13 points for Stoneham, and they had 9. 26-18 at the half. Burlington had a lot of momentum going into the third as they put up an additional 15 points, while Stoneham had 6. 51-24 at the end of the third. Now in the fourth, the Red Devils scored 22 points. Wow. Spartans had 17. Captain, senior, and forward Sean McLaughlin had 17 points. Freshman guard Cedric Rodriguez with 13. Junior forward Shane Mahoney with 11. And sophomore and guard Brian McLaughlin put up 12 points in the fourth period. The Red Devils advanced to 5-1 on the season and will have a matchup against the Melrose Red Raiders on Saturday, February 6th at BHS.
This game will be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page at 11 a.m. Girls varsity basketball traveled to Wakefield to take on the Warriors on Saturday, January 30th. The team went into the game with a 5-0 record. The girls snuck by the Warriors with a 6-point win. Senior captain Marina Callahan had a big day for points as she scored 19 unanswered. Sophomore Olivia Pena had 14 unanswered points as she was 4-4 on 3 throws in the fourth period. The team defeated the Warriors 40-34. The team continued to the undefeated season at 6-0. The girls were supposed to play the Melrose Red Raiders on Saturday. However, due to COVID protocols, that game has been moved to Thursday, February 11th. Girls varsity gymnastics had a home meet against Winchester on Saturday, January 30th at Burlington High School. The team beat Winchester with an 11-point victory. 135.95 to 124.55 was the final score. And the girls are 4-0 on the season. Burlington will face the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday, February 6th at BHS. This game will be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page. Boys gymnastics had a meet against the Newton Tigers on Wednesday, January 27th at Burlington High School, where they scored a total of 130 points during the meet. Boys gymnastics faced the Braintree Womps on Wednesday, January 3rd at BHS, where they scored a total of 147.9 points in the meet. The teams will have another home meet against next Wednesday, February 10th, and it'll be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page at 4 p.m. Boys varsity hockey had a home meet against the Melrose Red Raiders on Wednesday, February 3rd at the Burlington Ice Palace. We have some highlights, so let's check them out.
The Burlington boys varsity ice hockey had a match between the Melrose Red Raiders on Wednesday, February 3rd at the Burlington Ice Palace. Roll those highlights. In the first half, Melrose scored first by a goal from senior Gavin Crowley, 1-0. With just a minute left in the first half, senior forward Brian O'Neill powers it in for a go-ahead goal, 1-1, tied at intermission. Now heading into the second half, both teams were eyeing for the lead. Senior captain Charles Haggerty gave the Red Raiders the lead 2 minutes in the second half, 2-1. It didn't stop there, as Red Raiders junior Thomas Sullivan added another goal for Melrose, 3-1. With just 16 minutes left, around the bend goes sophomore forward Kobe Sloan for Burlington, 3-2. 8:56 left, clock ticking down. Melrose senior Brendan Fennell gets it in, 4-2. With 59 seconds left in the second half, Devils senior Sean Malone gets it in for Burlington, 4-3. The Melrose defense ended the game for Burlington, 4-3 was the final.
The team drops to 2-4 on the season. Girls varsity hockey will face Winchester at the Woburn Arena on Monday, February 8th. The team is currently 4-0-1 on the season. Don't forget to check out the BNEWS Sports Twitter page for more sports. Go to bcattv.org under the Sports Hub page. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie. Back to you guys in the studio.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for a look at this week's forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Gretchen Carey to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with your weather for the next 7 days. Here we are going into February, and February has certainly not disappointed us in terms of winter weather. We saw nearly 18 inches of snow here in the Burlington area out of that big storm that we had this past week. And it looks like we're going to be staying on that wintry side of things as we head into the middle of February. Now, starting out our period on Friday, we're going to be seeing temperatures actually a little bit warmer than average. Temperatures up in the mid-40s with the chance of some light snow and rain showers around that might help to tamp down the snowpack that we have out there. But unfortunately, folks, when we get into the 7 days in a few moments, you're going to see winter is here to stay. And as we round out our period getting into the Thursday time frame, we're supposed to be seeing temperatures in the upper 30s for this time of the year, and we are going to probably be about 10 degrees colder than that. So it is going to be bone chilling out there. However, look at this. Our sunsets are now happening after 5 p.m. again, and we will not be seeing any sunsets before 5 o'clock until we get to November. So that is at least a little bit of a sign that we are heading towards spring. And of course, Punxsutawney Phil this past week unfortunately did say to us we are going to have 6 more weeks of winter. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us in terms of temperatures and precipitation here in the Burlington area. Now, looking at this temperature map, this is something pretty telling. Almost the entire U.S. is expecting below average temperatures for the next 7 to 10 days. So that's really something we don't see too often. Right here in the Burlington area and most of New England, we're going to see a pretty good chance of seeing below average temperatures, and it is going to be absolutely frigid if you are heading out into the Midwest. But really, anywhere that you go in the country, of course, you're going down south or out towards California, it is going to be warmer. But keep in mind, it's going to be even below average in those places. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at our chances of precipitation, it's going to be, again, looks like it's going to be fairly dry over most of the country, a little bit above average maybe here in the Burlington area. We'll have to see how that pans out, as we may have a chance of a storm passing us by Sunday and Monday, but we'll have to see if that comes to fruition. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at that 7 days of weather. And again, starting our period on Friday, we're going to see a mix of rain and snow showers. Temperatures a little bit warmer again, up into the mid-40s, but then the floor really drops out from under us as we go into Saturday and Sunday. Our temperature is going to be down to around 30 again. And of course, I'm keeping that little bit of a darker colored cloud in there on Sunday and Monday, as we are watching a storm system that's going to be passing to our south. We're going to have to see if that brings us any snow at all. Doesn't look like it right now, but it is still something to bear in mind. And as we then go into the Monday and Tuesday time frame, frigid temperatures. Again, temperatures only in the low 20s, and we may have a couple of mornings that we start out near 0 or below 0 next week. And then as we head into the end of the week into Thursday, again, temperatures pretty far below average, only in the upper 20s, with, again, the chance of maybe some light snow as we get into the end of the period. So everyone, stay warm out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
everyone. I'm Gretchen Carey, and this is your community calendar. Learn how to deal with the winter blues during the pandemic. On Tuesday, February 16th, at 7 p.m., the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department will be having a virtual event called Approach for Anxiety and Depression. Cost of the program is $35 and pre-registration is required. For more info and to register, go to burlingtonrecreation.org. Do your kids like to build? On Saturday, February 13th, the Francis Wyman PTO is having a Valentine's Build-A-Board event for kids. Kids will learn how to build and create a charcuterie board. To participate, go to franciswymanpto.org/tickets. Take your free time and enjoy a good book. The Burlington Public Library is having a winter reading program for 2021. Kids winter reading is for pre-K to 5th grade, and teen winter reading is for grades 6 through 12. For more info, go to burlington.org or call 781-270-1690. I'm Gretchen Carey, and that was your community calendar.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo shows the good side of winter weather. It was sent in by Joe Brown of joebrownphotos.com and features families sledding at Simons Park during the through the lens of a drone, actually. Fun times on a snowy day. Thanks for the photo, Joe. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your holiday activities, a family trip, or just some everyday COVID activities, whatever you think is interesting and want to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Okay, that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with Rich Hosford, Tad Stefanak, Chris Flaherty, Robert Paris, Gretchen Carey, Peter Brown, and Liz Gillespie. Thank you for joining us.